There we go.
What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy, Story Seller Jet, and today we have a fantastic episode with my main man here, Brian McNally. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of really cool things. And we're going to talk about business, selling a business, the process of selling a business. We're going to talk about, the culture. I think you had a fantastic culture as part of your organization when you had it before selling it.
Yeah.
And right now, too, you're working on a lot of really fantastic things as well that we're going to be touching on. Things related to mindset, things related to family. Yep. And a lot of really good things today. So super excited to have you on the show. I've been wanting to have you on the show for like a minute now. So it's finally kind of worked out that you were here. And let's go, baby. Are you ready?
I'm pumped, man. Let's do it.
Awesome. So Brian, let's do a quick introduction of who you are, and we'll start from there.
Yeah, well, I'm a working class guy from Northeast Philly, and just kind of... like most people, fell into the everyday trap of life, right? Job, kids, kind of waiting for the weekends, got very unhappy, all those sort of things. Took the leap into entrepreneurship in 2015 with my business partner. And really, not only did it change my financial life, but through that process, I grew as a human and totally changed my spiritual life, my physical fitness, everything, my relationships. And so really, I'm at a desire now to share that with people, to teach them to live with purpose and intention and pursue their potential in their life and to avoid regret, because I was on a path to have regret for sure.
Wow. Yeah. I think this is like something that a lot of people would absolutely gain a lot from today. So you started the business in 2015. What were you doing before?
I was a sales guy for a company, staffing business. So out of college, I was a wild kid. I went to school for hospitality management, mainly because I didn't like math. I just was looking for something fun to do, and just kind of like most people, kind of aimless, right? Just kind of going to college like most kids without a whole lot of purpose. Got out of there, and I ended up getting a job at a small staffing startup in Philadelphia, where I'm from, and was the second employee in a 3-person company. And we ended up, it was super cool, actually. It was very fortuitous because we went from 0 to like 6 million in 3 years.
Wow.
Like 25 employees. We're on like the Philly Fast 50 kind of thing. So I got a front row seat to like growing a startup, all the grind that's required. I was working 60 hours a week, making 29 grand a year,
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Necessity is the mother of invention, they say, right? I needed money. And the guy promised me, he's like, hey, if you come over here and you do what, I tell you to do, and you just put your head down and work. And I'm a blue collar guy. Like, I was raised to work hard no matter what, right? He's like, at the end of that second year, you'll make 75 grand a year. And I'm like, great, whatever I got to do, I'll do it. And I sat in that office and made phone calls day in, day out until I achieved my goal, exceeded my goal.
That is awesome. Yeah. So how did the entrepreneur journey started for you? So you were in Philly, and I know you started the business in Tampa.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me a little bit about that transition coming and how that entrepreneur journey started?
I won't bore you guys with all the messy details, but long story short, I'm from Philly, went to school in Tampa, mainly because I just wanted to be down here with beach and bikinis, for no real reason. But I met my now wife, then girlfriend, in college. And after college, I was doing door-to-door credit card processing sales. I had this idea that didn't want to work, trade time for money necessarily. And the idea of residual income was super exciting to me. But I was doing strip mall credit card processing sales in the summer in Florida. It was just a nightmare. I wasn't making any money. And I'm like, I got to go home to where I have a network, where I have people that I can reach out to, someone, because I don't have any real marketable skills other than I'm a hard worker. I need to go where I know people and someone can help me find a job. And that's ultimately how I got that job at the startup. It was a friend of a friend, young guy who was in his 30s, had worked in the staffing industry for a while, was going to branch out on his own. And he needed other young, hungry people to come work for him. And I'm great. I need a job. Let's go. I'll do whatever you need me to do. So I did that for a while with him, and my now wife, it was like, hey, she's from Detroit originally. She's like,
oh, really?
Yeah. D-town girl.
That's awesome.
Didn't want to live in Philly anymore. She's like, hey, I met you in Florida for a reason. I'd like to get back down there. Like, what do we got to do to figure that out? So I actually talked to the owner, and we opened an office. He didn't want to lose me. I was like, hey, I'm going to move. I'm going to start over down there somewhere, right? He goes, why don't you open an office for the company down there? And I'm pretty young at this time. I'm like 27, and I tried it, and I thought we were going to be successful. And then 2008 happened, and I'm doing like light industrial manufacturing staffing. in a city that doesn't even have a lot of that, right?
Yeah.
So it was a brutal year. It was like a brutal over a year. I tried pivoting. I tried getting all these other spaces and all this stuff, and I fired myself eventually.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was at early 2009. I basically told him, I was like, hey, you're spinning cycles on money. You're like, this isn't, I've done everything I know how to do. I think you need to stay afloat up there and just, I'll be fine. I'll get a job done here. I'll figure it out, right? But, I need, it's what's in your best interest, and I've done everything I know how to do. So I got a job at a large staffing company here in Tampa called K-Force, and just kept building myself up, man. And throughout my career, I was always in sales, in staffing, and that got me into healthcare. K-Force, I was doing medical records, coding sales, long lines all over the country. And, I kept always leaving jobs to get more skill. So I left that job to go work for a consulting firm. And I had the great pleasure of traveling around the country with a former hospital executive and just being a sponge and soaking up how they talked and what was important to them. I left that job eventually to, not all, I didn't job hop so quickly, but to accelerate
every 2 weeks, or you change your job.
But I do think it's important, right? At every one of those jobs that I left to gain more skill, the better short-term play would have been to stay there and earn more money. That would have put more money in my pocket so I get a bigger car, a nicer car, a bigger house, or more clothes, or more stupid shit. But that wasn't my plan. Like I knew I wanted more, and I knew these skills would help me. And the whole time I kind of grew my income, but then I would stall out and take a new job and do the hard work of learning more skills and growing. And that ultimately is what afforded me the ability to start my business in 2015 with my partner.
Yeah.
Both with some level of financial security because I live below my means, but more than that, a ton of knowledge and experience that I was able to accumulate.
You just say something over here, which I think could be valuable to other people. So a lot of people, when they are starting businesses, they, obviously it's risky to start a business, but they are exhausting everything that they have, like financially and all of that. But you did that very calculated risk by living below your mean. What advice would you give to somebody that wants to start their business as it relates to like when they should start it as it relates to financial goals?
Yeah. I had a year's worth of income saved up. And so for me, it was a take a leap sort of strategy. And I know for a lot of people, they want to do a side hustle. And I'm cool with that too. Whatever you can do, but make sure you're actually doing it. I talk to a lot of these side hustle people. Like, I got 6 side hustles. I'm like, you're not doing any of them. You're not actually hustling at all. You're just running around in circles. So for me, it was like I had this North Star vision of a life that I wanted. I knew I needed to start a business at some point. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know what, but I knew that's the vision I had for my life. So in order to do that, I needed flexibility. So I think that's the key foundational principle, that you need to create flexibility in your life, financial flexibility, or else you won't be able to take the leap. You won't be able to try another job. I tried to hire plenty of people who were making a ton of money, and I'm like, you'd be great over here. And they're like, I hate my job, but I've got the boat and I've got the big house and I've got the car. So if I come over to you, Brian, I'm going to need 300 grand a year or whatever. I'm like, I'm not paying you for something you did over there. You have to earn that here.
Yeah.
And people put these handcuffs on themselves and they limit themselves. And that ultimately is how they stay in this trap and live a life of regret. So you got to build flexibility into your life financially. So I saved about 40%. I live below about 40% of what I need to. Awesome. So that I can still save for retirement and save to start the business. Yeah.
So were you married at that time before you started the business, or was that later on?
No, we got married in 2011.
2011?
Or 09, sorry.
Yeah,
09, sorry.
Yeah. So how was that process, being married and now kind of, you were working at that time, making good money, and then now transitioning to become an entrepreneur? How did that process go, with your wife? And I don't know if you had kids at that time. I think you did. One kid.
Trying for a second, yeah.
Yeah.
Sole provider. My wife was not working.
Yeah.
So years before this, my wife, pretty incredible person, played professional poker online.
Really?
Yeah. Before they made it illegal and it was a whole thing. She had lost her job as a pharmaceutical sales rep and was just playing poker. And she's like, I'm doing pretty good at this. I think I want to make a go at this. And I said to her then, do your thing. But know that one day I want to start my business and I need the same grace given to me because we're going to need to make sacrifices to make that happen. And she's like, deal. So when it came time to do it, she's like, are you ready? You good? I'm like, yeah, we got a year's worth of savings. I'm ready to go. I think this is the opportunity. She's like, let's go. Ride or die. Let's do it. Yeah. She's not very materialistic either. So, which is one of the ways we were able to live that way. Yeah,
that's awesome. So now making the full jump on starting your own business and doing all of that, what were some of the roadblocks that you encountered when you decided, okay, I want to make that jump right now?
On the home front or in the business?
Both. We can touch on both.
Home front was time. You forget or you don't realize how much it's going to take of your real time and effort. So one of the things I failed to do early on was really plan for that from a schedule perspective, roles, responsibilities within the home. So in the very beginning, there was a lot of friction because I'm like, no, I'm grinding. I'm over here. And she's like, well, you usually help out with this or that. I'm like, not anymore. Those days are over. And it would have been good to have that conversation ahead of time to eliminate some of that friction. But roles, responsibilities, making sure your spouse is really dialed in on the mission and what you have the conversation ahead of time on what you're willing to sacrifice. So one of the things I try and teach people is this equation, it's, the time, effort, and sacrifice equation. They're all elements that have to be involved in whatever goal it is you're looking to achieve. And the question is, what level are they going to be involved, right? So say you have a big, audacious goal, like for ours, it was to grow a company to $20 million in 5 years and sell it. It's a big goal. It's going to require time. It's for at least 5 years. Ton of effort, ton of sacrifice. Like all those are getting dialed up. If I said I wanted to take 20 years to grow a $5 million business, well, hey, I've got plenty of time. I don't have to make a lot of effort, a lot of sacrifice to ultimately achieve that goal, right? And I think people need to be aware of that when they're setting these goals for themselves. How much are you willing, and your partner, how much are you willing to sacrifice? How much effort is everyone willing to put in? And be very intentional about designing that and for how long.
I think this is pure gold right now because I think a lot of people, they want to start the business, but they don't really think about those things prior to doing that.
Yeah.
Like I know personally, I didn't have this conversation about time sacrifice and doing all of that. Later on, I did when we actually started to, suffer from some of these things.
Right.
But I think, for anybody that's are starting like a business, I think this is very key, important thing to do, to have those really hard conversation at the very beginning so you don't have to have those conversation at a later time.
Yeah. I think self-reflection is hugely important. And then once you do that self-reflection, you kind of identify, I think, what you want and most importantly, what you don't want. I don't think people spend a lot of time or they have a hard time articulating the life they want to create for themselves. But I guarantee they can articulate what they don't want their life to look like. So start there, work backwards, and design your life around that. And I think it's really important. And then once you do that and you figure out what you want, you should probably have that conversation with the most important people in your life.
Absolutely. So now that was in the family front. What were some of the roadblocks that you had starting your organization on the business side?
Oh, man. It was 2 guys, a couple of cell phones, and laptops. I mean, no software, no anything. And we had come from billion-dollar companies, right, that had all these tools and resources. So quite literally, we were Googling names of hospitals, general phone numbers, and then just cold calling into these places. So we're talking ground up, right? And we had the whole country to call on. So I think part of a challenge for people sometimes is knowing where to focus, especially when you have so much opportunity in front of you. And what we ultimately did was really narrow our focus, first geographically in our backyard, to focus on, let's just get one client. Let's get one referenceable client. When you have zero business and you've got zero credibility, one is a mountain. But if you get the one, everything starts going downhill from there. So I would really focus on creating that one win. So that was a big challenge for us, like getting that one. We got it, had a good story, and then we just kept telling that story and how we could help people. But most importantly, we narrowed our focus into a couple key areas instead of trying to do all things for all people.
Yeah, this is awesome because as you go through your entrepreneurial journey, that is probably one key thing that's going to probably happen. I feel like, because there is one book that I actually really enjoy. There's 2 actually. One of them is The One Thing, and then the other one is Essentialism. Fantastic 2 books. But in one of those books, there's like an analogy where there's like 2 circles. The very first circle has a bunch of little small arrows pointing out of it, like 10, 15 arrows. And then the other one has 1 arrow that has like basically like shoots through the roof on there. So the first circle basically say, okay, I have finite resources, finite energy, and I'm spending it into like those 15 different things.
Right.
And as a result, those small arrows are just like slowly growing. But when you take all that finite energy and resources that you have and focus it on one thing, that one thing shoots through the roof. more money to put on there, more time to put on there, more resources. So when you put more stuff in that and focus on one area, you actually go way faster instead of like trying to like, pursue like 15 things at the same time.
100%. If you think about what we did, so we were in the revenue cycle of hospitals, which is fairly, if you think about it in broader business terms, it's very niche. But even within that, we narrowed down even further. So we only did case management, utilization management, and clinical documentation improvement. So these are very specific areas that are where like the clinical meets the business side of a hospital, impact reimbursement and those sort of things. And we really tied our services to the impact they would have for the organization, not just the cost that it would have. Mm-hmm. And but that is a very claustrophobic, small space to be in. Like we were literally the only people that were exclusively doing that. Yeah. There was other people doing it, but they were doing a lot of other things. And we had plenty of opportunities along the way to chase shiny objects. And we were able to stay focused on that. And all the things that you just talked about, that momentum it created, there's kind of a critical mass. There's even just from a straight tactical perspective, like operational efficiencies that get created because you do so little that all your people's efforts are, doubled. Basically.
And I think this is probably one of the things that made Jeff Hoffman, the founder of Priceline, and so many really billionaire successful is because he talked about like, creating your gold medal experience, like the things that you are the best at, focus on that. And that becomes your gold medal talent. So kind of fantastic that you did that. So for anybody watching this, actually, we haven't touched on what was the business that you started? What was that and what did you do?
It was a healthcare staffing and consultancy exclusively focused on supporting performance improvement initiatives for hospitals around case management, clinical documentation, and utilization management.
That's awesome. So we'll dive deep into like, the process and, the life of the business before you sold it. But before you actually did, obviously you started that from scratch. You mentioned like two guys with a cell phone and a computer.
Yeah.
How did you grow that? Or I guess the question, like from that beginning, how much did you grow that organization? What was before you sold it, what did you reach? In
year 7, we did $50 million in revenue. It was the year we sold the business. We ended up doing $50 million.
That is insane. Like from starting it from like scratch, zero.
No outside capital.
No outside capital and grow it into 7 years. 7 years is like in lifetimes of business, that's very short.
Yeah.
To achieve $50 million, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
We did, thank you. We were on Inc. 500 in, I think, 2019, and then subsequent 3 more years on the Inc. 5000 list with just kind of the numbers that we were doing. And honestly, we were so focused on our North Star mission and our goal that it was exciting, but it was like, we weren't big on like quarterly numbers and everything. It was like 20 million by 2020 or bust. That's it. And you'd be amazed what you can achieve when you get narrow and you get really tightened on a mission.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I guess like I have to ask this question. What are some of the secrets that you have to growing a business from 0 to $50 million in 7 years?
Yeah. One, I mean, we didn't just happenstance pick that market, right? We talk about investing in my education and knowing what's going on. I mean, I was looking at trends. So you have to, I think a lot of people just go, oh, I'm passionate about this. I'm going to do things. Well, let me tell you, I'm not passionate about case management, right? So, I mean, I was passionate about creating freedom and wealth for my family and creating a culture and like a company that I would be proud of. So I think some people need to kind of like really think about that, right? There's not always going to be this unicorn, like, well, this makes me happy and it's going to make me a millionaire. Okay, good luck, right? But invest in knowing what's going on in a marketplace. Look for arcs and trends. And we saw an opportunity to get out in front of something and we took the risk to do so. But that takes knowledge and experience and paying attention to what's going on. If you sit around with your head in the sand, you're never going to have that knowledge, right? So,
and we have AI giving us some really great feedback. It sounds like you have some great knowledge.
That is crazy.
So if you tuning this, so today we have an awesome conversation with Brian McNally right here at the That's So Fire talk show. And we are talking about the entrepreneur journey from starting a business from 0 to 50 million and to selling it. And we're going to be also talking about, mindset shift and like some secrets to kind of really be successful with your business. So,
well, I can break it down for you a little bit more, right? So there's some key elements that from the bootstrap scale and exit the way way we did. One, we started with a real focus on creating cash flow. You need a client and you need cash flow. So in our business, there's direct hire recruitment, headhunting, traditionally most people would know it as. We didn't want to build our business on that, but it is a way to create cash flow quickly. And it was a strategic advantage we had over our competitors who didn't want to do it. So sometimes, I think Patrick Bet-David talks about choose your enemy, right? And so we did. We picked the big hairy monster in our space and said, well, what do they do? Like, well, they have lots of contractors on billing, right? And that's ultimately what we wanted to build. But they had what we wanted. They had both the resources and the clients. So we kind of sat back and said, well, how do we take that from them? And we're not going to compete with them heads up. So what we decided to do was siphon off the opportunity from them. So they didn't do direct hire recruitment. And they were using a lot of contract labor, which is expensive for the hospital. So we went to that hospital and said, hey, if I was able to fill these positions permanently for you, would that be good? I feel like you're spending a lot of money on contractors. They were like, yeah, that'd be great. So we got cash by filling their positions directly. We also siphoned off one of our clients, our competitors' biggest clients, and then we recruited out the contract labor to deploy in new clients.
Wow.
So you have to be sure. You don't just willy-nilly put out an ad and hope that things happen. You have to really know your business and be tactical and choose an enemy and go after them, have a plan. So that created the cash flow early on and created opportunities for us to find talent. The next thing we did was we were really, really married to creating a culture in a company we'd be proud of, because we work for these big bureaucratic organizations. So we wanted to be fast. We wanted to be integrity driven. We wanted to live our values. So we had a saying, we do what's right, not what's common. So we were really easy to work with and fast. And that's what we valued. And so when we made our first hire, we took out an SBA loan, took out a $100,000 SBA loan to attract a high dollar recruiter that we really wanted to bring onto our team, which was a super smart decision in the end, right?
That is fantastic.
A foundational employee for us. Yeah.
That is cool. I didn't even know that the SBA has loans that they can provide to people for hiring.
You can use it for whatever you want.
Yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah.
So now that you've launched that business, what are some of the biggest lessons that you learned along the way?
Yeah. One is get your financial house in order early. It served us so well with our business to make smart decisions. And then also upon the exit of the business, it allowed for a really easy sale and transition, and having really good data and financial gave us great insights into our business. I can't overstate how important that is to do it. If you think you can wait till next year, you can't do it now. We brought in a financial consultant to help just fix the back of the house and make sure everything was dialed in, that we had process in place. And then we invested in technology, CRM. We bought an expensive CRM that could grow with us, so we didn't have to change it later. So some of these things are really important investments, and they may sound like they're a lot of money in the short term, but if you plan on building something bigger than that, then you have to invest for the future. And the other key elements was we built to sell. And so we knew that. And so we avoided making investments in an HR department, IT departments, all these ancillary things that people spend time and money on. We knew we just needed to outsource it, and we accounted to outsource it because it didn't add value to our ultimate goal of exiting the business.
Awesome. So through that 7-year journey, what are some of the mistakes that you've made? Mm-hmm. And now looking back, how would you have solved those mistakes?
I would have done a better job training sooner. I think we eventually got better at training people, but we did a lot of sink or swim stuff. We didn't really take the time. And I think with the advent of technology that's out there now, document your process. Go through, screen grab it, click it, do all those kind of things. We spent a lot of time and energy one-on-one training people, trying to teach them things that we probably could have just documented from a video perspective and really kind of walk people through. That would have been really important. The other mistakes we made, we didn't make, to be honest, we got lucky. We didn't make too many. I mean, we achieved a pretty big amount. Just hiring for culture too. We had a really good culture, and I think we didn't always protect it as much as we should have. The seats in your business, if you're really building something special, you should protect them and make sure those seats are valuable.
Awesome. Now let's expand on that culture thing. And I think this is probably something that I have seen you talk about that a lot. By the way, we were part of the same organization, same mastermind, board of advisors, and I'm wearing their hat right now. And you did an excellent presentation, and also one of the small group thing talking about culture. How important is culture for a business?
I think it's foundationally important. And I think it's a secret superpower that most people are overlooking. And I think the big reason it's not always developed into the culture is because the right leader isn't at top. And it's a tough thing to say. Like, I think a lot more leaders should do the long, hard work of looking in the mirror and say, like, maybe I'm the one who put up the money and maybe it was my idea, but maybe I'm not the person to lead this ship and lead these humans. And that's what this is. And we're talking about people. This is a living, breathing organism, and you need to treat it as such. And your job as a leader is to set that vision, set the standard, and then ensure that everybody's operating towards it, remove the roadblocks for them. So from our perspective, it was really important we had a culture of accountability with flexibility. I wanted to hire professionals who ran their desk and took ownership of it like a professional, right? Well, it's really important for me as a leader not to treat them like children and dictate to them exactly what they need to do and when if they wanted that. And I think people need to be empowered in their roles. They need agency and control over what it is they do every day. And if you can give them that, and compensate them properly and align their compensation with your mission, they will run through brick walls for you.
Yeah.
And they will value their job. Not only you, but they will value what they do because they had a role in creating it. It's just human nature. People do it. And I think too often we're overlooking it, like, hey, you didn't file your TPS report properly, whatever, right? And it's just crazy what people do. And employees hate that. And so one of the things that we did as an example was, we allowed the employees to create the standard operating procedures instead of us like dictating to what it needs to look like. And I would challenge it. It's like, what can we remove? What can we get rid of? And so how that, comes to fruition at the end is we go to sell. We're in the transition meetings, setting up the new software, doing the IT transition with the parent company, and the consultants are in there, and they're like, they asked me to be in the meeting. I'm like, I don't need to be in that meeting. I have no clue. Like, I could never teach that to you. I don't know. You're gonna have to talk to my team. Team goes in, and the consultant comes out and says, I've never seen people so committed to, like, they were fighting for a process. They knew every detail of this thing in and out. And it's like, this is amazing. And I'm like, why is that? Like, they made it. It's theirs.
Yeah.
They have ownership of it. And I think that's an important thing that people don't focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think are the key ingredients to create a winning culture?
Yeah, as a leader, you need to leave greed and ego at the door. What I mean by that is, like, pay your people, like, overpay for good people. Forget the market analysis, man. And if you're growing to build to sell something to exit it, you're better off giving up money during the year to overcompensate high performers to help you achieve your goal because you're going to make it up on a multiple at the end anyway. Like, leave the greed at the door. You don't need an extra Ferrari at the end. Feed your people. So that's one thing. Incentivize good people to do good work, right? And then the other part is leave your ego at the door too. You can't lead people unless you're willing to be vulnerable and accountable for your own failures. And if you can create that at the top, that will permeate all the way down through the organization. And then ultimately it's about the mission of the organization, what we're trying to do together, and not who messed up or who fouled or whatever. So as a leader, you can walk into a room and be like, man, I screwed that up. Let's break it down. Where did I go wrong? And just how do we fix it? Because that's the only thing that matters is improving the business. You talked about this gold medal kind of standard, right? That was it for us. It was like, nope, okay, we obviously screwed something up. How do we make sure this isn't broken anymore and that we're excellent at it moving forward? No judgment, no one cares. Let's go, right? Everything has to be challenged constantly. And that's how you grow. That's how you grow as a person. And so if you just put that into a business and you say, I'm gonna leave my ego at the door and it's all about getting better every day, and you can model that as a leader, you will ultimately create a culture where people feel comfortable finally being themselves, because most businesses don't create that kind of culture where people feel comfortable speaking up.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's transition now to talking about the selling of your business. And I'm not sure if you are allowed or able to share some of the details, but you grew it from $0 to $50 million. How much did you were able to sell it for? You don't have to share.
I'm not allowed to share the exact amount.
Yeah.
The private equity firm wouldn't like that. But we sold halfway through that year, so it wasn't for that much, right? Yeah. Not that number, essentially, because we didn't achieve that number until after the business was sold.
Yeah.
But we sold about halfway through that year, and it was multiple 8 figures.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it was a good, really healthy exit. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, what are some of the things that were instrumental for you to be able to sell it for multiple 7 figures?
Well, there's just very technical stuff, right? Like, you don't want to be over concentrated in one account, right? So we had good spread across all different accounts, across all types of business across the country. really strong recurring revenue, really strong team in place that is capable of continuing this business should we decide to leave. The growth rate was insane,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So,
7 years to 50 million. That's insane.
So we went from, it was like 3 million to 10 million in 2019. During COVID in 2020, we lost 50% of the business in 6 weeks.
Wow.
We were supposed to double in 2020. We were on pace in March to be at 20 million in 2020, which would have been a doubling over 2019. We ended up being flat, which is kind of like a Herculean effort just to stay flat in a year like that. Came back in 21. I think we did like 30 million almost. And then 22, 50 million.
I think this is incredible that you were able to grow that much year over year. What was the things that you changed in your business to allow you to sustain that growth?
I got out of the way. Early on, for the first couple of years, we wanted to control everything. And we talked about empowering and growth and like where you really learn the power of it. We'd let people do things and we were kind of loosey-goosey in the beginning, but over time, like strategically, I was like, no, we no longer are taking these things on. Like you guys are going to have to grow and take this on if this business is going to have to grow. And, you hear people say all the time, you need to work on your business, not in your business, right? Well, what does that mean? I can give you a good example of for me. We empowered the sales team and these people, the strengths that me and my partner had to run with these things. But then we went out and focused on building relationships with private equity, building relationships with all these other things to set it up for sale, having conversations as to what does our business need to look like internally so it is clean for a sale. One other effort that I was able to do was, which helped continue the growth, was we made a bet that ultimately we found that most of our best business was coming from consulting projects, performance improvement initiatives. And trying to reach a hospital executive on the phone cold calling is, good luck.
Nearly impossible.
Good luck. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. And you can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars going to conferences and years building relationships with them. It's very much a long game. We didn't have a long game, right? So we're like, how do we accelerate getting to these people that there's a real decision maker that we need to get with? And we recognized that a lot of the large management consulting firms had the relationships we wanted. So then we just sat back and said, well, how do we add value for them? Well, they're coming in and doing process improvement, changing what's going on in the hospital for a desired outcome of improvement for the hospital. When they do that, it's usually process, technology, and people. They don't really do people very well. So then they rely on HR. So they have this massive project they spent millions of dollars on. They're trying to get millions of dollars in benefit from it, and they can't get it off the ground because they don't have the people to implement and execute. And that's where we were able to come in. So I went to the management consulting firms. I spent half a year as a risk because I wasn't out growing the business directly. And I said, how do we get, add value for the people that have our client relationships? And we were able to make that case and demonstrate that value. And that unlocked a whole nother level of our business because these groups had all the key relationships we wanted. And we were able to add value for them and by extension, the client. And then it unlocked their relationships for us.
Yeah. I think this is probably from one of the biggest advice that I've received over the last month, which is from Matt Andrews. If you're watching this video, Matt, shout out. And he says at that mastermind that I was attending that the best collaborators win.
Yeah.
So like you kind of made that strategic move to partner with somebody else that were, you're bringing your gold medalist talent and that was their weakness. And with, that marriage was able to open a lot more doors for you, which is fantastic. So a lot of people launching businesses out there, if you're trying to hold everything and trying to do everything by yourself, you probably are, I don't know if that's the right word, siphoning your own growth or preventing you from really achieving like greater things because you're trying to do it all by yourself. Yeah. And one of my favorite book is Who Not How by Benjamin Hardy. And I feel like I should probably reach out to Ben and tell him to sponsor this show because of how many times I've mentioned this book. But Who Not How, basically the premise behind that book is utilizing people that are better at things than you instead of you really focusing on how can I achieve that, but who can help me achieve that growth and you're focusing on the best thing that you can do and finding other people to do the other things, which is awesome. Really, really great tips and tricks, man. I appreciate you sharing all of that. So I know we don't have a long time left on this talk show. So now let's transition to what you are doing now.
Yeah.
You sold the business, and I know probably what was the mindset after you sold the business? Like, what was the day after that deal went through, the month after? How did that look like?
Man, I'm a father and a husband, and they still have their lives. So we went and saw the new Buzz Lightyear movie the next morning. Went out for dinner with my wife, my business partner, and his wife. Well, then we took the kids to a movie. And then by Monday, I was back in the office, like getting everything transitioned and doing all that. And so I stayed on for about 18 months to help make sure everything was smooth, my people were taken care of, and that we delivered our promises for the partners that acquired us. And then after that, I've been training mixed martial arts for several years, and I kind of set this personal goal to do an MMA fight. I'm 43, so I haven't been training for all that long, right? So it was kind of a lofty goal, but I committed to doing that full time. So.
And guess what? You have an MMA fight coming up.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
go.
Let's go. August 8th, Lakeland.
Yeah, it's going to be in Lakeland.
Yep.
And this is probably why you're probably like growing that beautiful big bushy beard over there too.
I'm going full Viking for the battle. Yeah.
Talk to me about that. What was that process like, training for an MMA fight, or even like the mindset behind that?
Yeah, man. So, during the transition with the business and everything, I evolved as a person, man. I used to be really unhealthy, unhappy. My relationships were shit. I was just kind of like in that average trap that everyone falls into, right? And I was just like, fuck that. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to live a life of regret, right? So I'm kind of now on a mission, a movement. I call it the Fuck Average movement.
Is that the title of your next book too, right?
Yeah. Fuck Average, how to live with intention and avoid regret. And that's really my mission now, man, is to wake people up to, like, you can't sleepwalk through life, And there's a lot of unhappy entrepreneurs who are like, yeah, I'm good. The zeros in your bank account probably look great. I want to see your relationships. I want to see how you feel when you look at yourself in the mirror physically. And I was like, no, if I'm not winning in all these areas, I'm not winning. That's not really life. You're just hiding shit. So for me, it's like I'm all out to pursue my potential in everything I do. And so when I set the goal to do the fight, like I have committed to no longer fail to meet the commitments I make to myself. Like if I'm going to say I'm going to do something, I do it. And just like the business I said I was going to do, I did it. I was going to get in shape, I did it. I was going to fix the relationship with my wife, I did it. And it's like, this is just another thing. I'll do whatever needs to happen to do the work, right? And so how does that manifest itself? Like right now I'm cutting weight. I was just at the beach this weekend for Father's Day, and everyone else was cracking a beer and having a good time, and I was just like sipping on water, right? You have to have the mental fortitude to push forward. And for me, the key that I really want people to understand is it's not for other people. Like you have the satisfaction you get from honoring that commitment you make to yourself is like nothing else. And if you just create a little momentum and start building on those habits, like you'll do it. And so for me to do the fight, like I had to learn jiu-jitsu. And then I had to get proficient at that after getting my face smashed in constantly. And then I had to learn striking. And now I'm doing like full MMA stuff and sparring with people. I got sparring Friday, right? And so yeah, I mean, it's intimidating, it's scary, but you just keep going in, you get a little bit better every time, and that's that.
I love it. Something you mentioned, and I feel like this is very important because I know a lot of people, entrepreneurs, are struggling with that. You mentioned you had to fix your relationship with your wife.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to entrepreneurs out there watching this video, that are the go, and obviously that sometimes like create like a strain with your kids and family.
100%.
What is the number one advice you would be giving to an entrepreneur watching this as it relates to how they can fix their relationship with their kids and wife?
Yeah. So for me, it all starts with self-reflection. So I have this process I call it Dream, Design, Do, and it's how to kind of actually put a plan in place and to implement what you want it to look like. So I think the very first thing we need to do is actually stop. Chill the fuck out, look around, ask yourself some hard questions. Go out in nature, take a hike, do whatever you got to do to get your mind right, and then ask yourself, like, what is it that I really want in life? Why am I even doing all this? So I didn't see my kids and my wife this week, or I came home distant and angry because they asked me questions, because my mind was focused on work and making money. For what purpose? So you can ultimately spend more time with your wife and kids, right? Like, why are you even doing the thing you're doing? Or is it just this subconscious programming you have that we always need more, and we need to have a Ferrari and more cool shit in order to say that we've achieved something in life? Because if you go back and read some biographies of very wealthy men, I love the Founders podcast, I don't know if you listen to that, to a man, they all say they wish they spent more time. We're talking about the most successful people ever by most standards. All said they wish they had more time with their family. All said they regretted those sort of things. So It's like, why not have both? Like, slow the fuck down and get your priorities right. And you got to reflect to do that. And then put a plan in place and then actually have the tough conversation. For me, it took me being empathetic to my wife. Like, I was in this mode where, like, I'm crushing it. Like, I want Martha Stewart at home. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why do I got to help? Like, you just need to handle shit. My kids are mini-me's. They don't listen to anybody. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're headstrong people. It's a tough home, right? And she's working hard and she's doing the best she can. And instead of me being like, wow, I value all these awesome things about you, I was always like judging her for what she wasn't. And I'm like, wait a minute, if that was an employee, I would never do that. I'd be like, wait, you're really good at this. Like, let's get you the help you need over here and let's all share the mission. Like, let's go. So I didn't have a shared mission at home. I had a shared mission at work. And so one of the things we had to sit back and my wife just had to get back, like, what do we want? Like, why are we doing all this shit? Like, you know what I mean? And then you have to have the tough conversations. Like, well, here's what I want. And here's how, like, and nobody wants to do that. But if you can't have that conversation with your partner, if you can't trust that they can have it in an empathetic way, then you're probably not the right partner to begin with, right?
Yeah.
So you got to take that risk. Just like starting a business, you took a risk to do that. Take the risk, sit down with your spouse, have the tough conversation about what you want your life to look like, where you're not showing up for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It changed everything.
Yeah. Let's go back to the MMA fight. Obviously, this is a very scary thing. What advice would you give to somebody that wants to step out of their comfort zone or that wants to like face some hard stuff?
Create momentum. Take one very small step, right? So the first thing I did is like, I kind of want to do this jiu-jitsu thing. Let me look into it. And I just like went into a jiu-jitsu place and asked the question, like, hey, what does it look like? They're like, well, come in for a free session. We'll show you. Okay. Create momentum. I was like, I kind of like this. Yeah, why don't you come back in for this? Okay, great. Create momentum. There's nothing you can't do in your life if you create momentum. I think so much of what we do, the mistake people make is they get this idea in their head and they want to go for the moon. Getting in shape is the prime easy example, right? Everyone goes, I'm going to get a trainer. I'm going to eat anything but boiled chicken and broccoli for the next month. And they quit 3 weeks in because it's hard. You made it impossible for yourself. One of the things I put in the book is the 14 easy challenge. Andy Frisella has 75 hard. I'm going 14 easy. Just like track what you eat for 14 days and take a walk every day. Like pick the most basic, simple thing you can do, but do it consistently for 14 to 30 days, something like that. Like that's how you get started with anything.
Yeah, a lot of people, they want to go from 0 to 100, but there is magic when you go from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
Taking those small steps and growing from there.
When I was out of shape, I'm about 155 pounds now or so. So in really good shape. I was like not a stitch of muscle, 190 pounds, just swollen, like out of shape, everything. When I decided to get in shape, the first thing I did was, and to get up early and work out was I went to the gym for like 15 minutes and just walked on the treadmill. And then I went home because I wasn't even used to being awake at that time. For like 2 weeks, I did that before I ever even started working out in the morning. But I showed up consistently. Then you fast forward years later, I'm in the best shape of my life, right?
That's awesome.
And I didn't just wake up that way.
That's awesome. Can you share with me what do you think are the secret to success?
Yeah. Self-belief is key. And if you don't believe it, it's not going to happen, right? Like you have to believe in yourself that it's achievable. The next thing I would say would be learning to give value, which is also kind of encompasses skill acquisition. If you can acquire skills, you'll be able to be more valuable to others. And if you can create value for others and really seek to do that like wholeheartedly with intention, like the world will kind of give back to you, right? And then create really strong habits. That's where the consistency comes. So it's not about, like people say you have to have discipline. Like, yeah, but discipline gets a lot easier. Like I don't even think about the things I do anymore. Like it doesn't require a lot of discipline. It just is my life. It's my habit. It's just my process. And it took a while to create that. But if you can hardwire some habits, extreme accountability, that's the part where just like not committing or honoring the commitment you make to yourself. Like you're accountable for everything that happens in your life. Your relationship's not good, that your employee's not performing well, you probably didn't train them properly. And then the last thing would be, just do the hard thing. Continually lean into discomfort because that's where the growth happens. And if you follow that process over and over again, you can't help but be successful.
Awesome. So now that we've talked about culture, we talked about selling a business, we talked about a bunch of really cool stuff. Yeah. One thing I wanted to touch on is I feel like this is one of the major things that you are doing right now is your men's group. And you've sent me a couple of texts a couple of times inviting me to some of this stuff, but obviously I haven't not been able to make it. But talk to me about why you are doing that men's group and what do you intend, or where do you see that group grow to be?
Where it can grow to be, I don't know, if I'm being honest. And this goes back to just moving forward with things. Like I took action. It was something I wanted to do. There's something I know is needed. There's a lot of men don't have a place to go where they can be vulnerable, get around other like-minded people, and actually have real conversation, right? You know, we're taught to bury our feelings. And I'm pretty sure this is Men's Mental Health Month, actually, so great timing. But like, you know, there's plenty of this out there in the culture of the struggle that people are secretly going through, right? A guy I went to college with just OD'd recently, right?
Wow.
Just found out the other night. And that's a man who could have used the men's group, right?
Yeah.
Could have had some people to talk to. And there's a lot of that out there. And, you know, I was a very unhappy, unhealthy father and husband and I guess businessman, right? And through personal development, luckily enough, I was strong enough to kind of figure it out on my own, right? Through books and just podcasts. But I'm very much a take action sort of person. So I'm blessed in that way, but not everyone is. And they can see these things. And a lot of these guys just see this stuff. And then they may see my social media post and be like, yeah, well, good for him. That's not me or whatever, right? But if we can get them out to a men's group, they can put their arms around somebody and see people who are struggling the same as them, then maybe it'll have a breakthrough. And, you know, they'll want to kind of change something in their life so that they can avoid that regret. So that's really the purpose of it. I feel like I'm called to like lead and serve others and inspire people to live a better life. And the men's group's like a real tactical way that I can, you know, do it, where I've been there. Like I'm not just some, I don't know, guru or whatever. I'm a guy who's been through some shit, came out on the other side happier and healthier, and I want to help people do the same.
Yeah. So for anybody that, like men out there that are struggling mentally or like that are truly unhappy, what advice would you give them right now?
Get your health in order. I know it sounds like the thing to say is, oh, just get in better shape. But I promise you, it is the foundational element. There is a mental shift that happens with that physical change that happens in your body. And I really focus on that. Just start super small with that if you can. And seek out help, seek friendship, relationships, you know, I mean, whether it's a coworker or a friend. And if you don't have that, come out to the men's group. Like I'm not the only men's group in town, right? And or in the country, there's all kinds of cool stuff going on. I see it on the social media all the time. Take the step, reach out, get involved, like build a community around whatever it is you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So jiu-jitsu for me is like, it's an amazing community, the MMA community. And we support each other. And it's like, there's communities out there for everything. And I think just so find some passion and get excited, self-reflect and figure out what's really going on.
Awesome. So I'm always fascinated by the thing that people wear. Like if they have something that is written on there probably are some like, you know, special meaning behind it. And your shirt right now says, "Few will hunt."
Heck yeah.
What does that mean to
Everybody wants to eat, but few will hunt. It means everyone wants all the free shit. No one wants to do the work to get it. So it's an apparel brand that I'm an investor in. They're out of Philadelphia, 100% American-made apparel. And they do kind of fight wear, MMA, jiu-jitsu, but also just activewear, t-shirts, shorts, things like that. And it's a brand and a community, you know, built with purpose around supporting the hardest workers in the room. That's kind of their motto. And the goal is to restore the dignity of hard work, right? And that there's too many people who just want and aren't willing to do the work to get it.
Yeah. So we are nearing the completion of the show today. Is there any parting advice that you would give to anybody watching this video? By the way, before you start over there, I want to give a special shout out to my main man, Michael Fumpkin, for tuning in, and also for Deneen White to comment on there. One of two of my favorite people. I know we know both of them, but shout out, guys. Thank you for tuning in and supporting the show. Sir Michael Fumpkin. He was in the show 2 days ago, I think, right? 2 days ago, Sir Michael Fumpkin. And you know, it was a lot of fun. So, yeah.
I guess parting words are, you know, you don't have to accept the life that you're living now. If you look in the mirror or in your quiet moment are unhappy with any facet of your life, don't wait another day. Time's running out. Life is short. And you need to put a plan in place and take action towards that goal. It doesn't all have to happen tomorrow, but you should start now. I wasted far too many years not living up to my potential and being the person I could have been or the person I feel like I am today. And those are years wasted that I'll never get back.
Boom. I like to say there is some mic drop moment. And I also like to say, it's fire, baby. Let's go. Thanks so much for being on the show today. I know we had a little bit of a late start, and man, this conversation was awesome.
I appreciate it. It's awesome.
Yeah, so much value packed, and I'm really grateful for you to come and share your journey, the things that you've learned along the way, where you are at today, and where you're headed in the future. Yep. So thank you for coming and sharing your genius, and super excited. And I think we should probably plan for a part 2 on this show. So again, thanks again. For anybody watching this and would like to learn more about you and about the men's group, how can they get a hold of you?
The Brian McNally at Instagram, and brianmcnally.com has all my social media, my handles. You can sign up to be made aware of the book launch, as well as the charity page for the Baru Fund, which I'll be raising money for the charity through the fight on August 8th for the fight. So just follow all my socials there. Keep apprised of what I'm doing. I'm just getting started.
Let's go, baby. It's fire. Brian, it was a pleasure having you in the show, man. Let's go.
I appreciate it.
Make sure you follow this guy on all of his social media platform. And thank you so much for the love and support and for watching this. And let's go, baby. It's fire.